Local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The Moose.
You might not be an A, but you are a B plus.
Check it out. Here we go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to another B Plus podcast. I'm your host, Big Boy Mikey. I was about to say it is Wednesday, and you know what that means. I actually don't know when this is technically going to get released. It is time for another episode of King of Sportscast. And yes, I returned to the King of Sportscast podcast after a week absence. This time, probably about a week ago, I was mourning the loss of my beautiful grandmother. And alongside the lack of news last week in and around the King of Sports universe, we decided to put the mics down for a week, come back this week in full flight. And well, we almost have. With two minor issues. We've got Greg away, just stepping away due to family issues and also losing his voice. Also, pulling back the curtain, I fucked up recording this on Tuesday night. I did not have my microphone plugged in, and therefore I now have to re-record this on a Thursday night. So a couple of issues this week on behalf of the B Plus and King of Sports podcast. But I'm straight back into it. We got some great stuff going on in Japan at the moment, so I'm really keen to get stuck into that. A couple of other little things going on, but I'm going to keep this short and sweet. It's not going to be a long one. Only a couple of points I want to talk about. A couple of things that have had happened in the last let's say, fortnight, and then things that are coming up. More importantly, I'm going to break down the NWA Crockett Cup, which is coming up this weekend. So, don't usually cover NWA on the King of Sports podcast. It's not technically part of the King of Sports universe, but because the other brands of King of Sports are going to be amongst the Crockett Cup, I felt it was just right to quickly preview that, because it is quite Ring of Honor heavy in terms of NWA versus Ring of Honor, kind of, with some New Japan and CMLL teams participating as well. But I want to start off this week's podcast with some cool news, some really cool news for Australian fans of New Japan. New Japan Pro Wrestling Australian fans. New Japan had a very successful tour here last February of 2018. So, those cries for more New Japan tours to Australia were heard from the New Japan offices. We are getting two shows from New Japan. One on June the 29th in Melbourne at Festival Hall. We're getting one on June 30th in Sydney at the University of New South Wales Roundhouse. Two cool venues for pro wrestling. Actually, to be fair, I've never seen a pro wrestling event at Roundhouse. I shouldn't call that a cool venue. I've been to that venue for many gigs. So it'd be interesting to see a wrestling show there. But this tour is called Southern Showdown. I love it. 4 names have been confirmed as of this moment, which is Farley, Ospreay, Okada, and Jay White. So 4 men who were here last February. I'm expecting a lot more names to get announced. I'm really hoping for LAJ guys to come out again. I think Evil Sonata came, but that was about it from last year. I'd really love to see Nato. Hopefully Tanahashi comes on this one. Maybe like a Dragon Lee or something. That'd be cool. So I'm pretty sure tickets come out this week. I think Melbourne's tomorrow and Sydney's are Saturday. So keep an eye out on the New Japan Australia Facebook page. Is the best place to keep all your keep an eye out for the tickets and all that. And on the New Japan website, so njpw1972.com for all your tickets and all that. But very exciting for New Japan fans here in Australia, especially with how well our boy Robbie's going with New Japan. And awesome news. But I want to jump into the other cool news, which is the best of Super Juniors. when I recorded this on Tuesday night, the first time, I was so excited to record this because the news had just come out probably about half an hour or so before I hit record. I was all excited, all pumped up. So on Tuesday, we did get the news that the Best of Super Juniors lineup has been announced. This year, they've upped it to 20 competitors. This is the 26th version of the Best of Super Juniors tournament in New Japan. It will start on May 13 and end on June 5th. It's going to be an incredible tournament. I want to run down the 19 confirmed entrants, and we're going to talk about 18 to start with. The last two I'm going to leave to the end for the next kind of segment, which will tie into this first segment. All right, so the confirmed entrants is representing Ring of Honor is Bandito. You got Bushi representing LIJ. You got Dragon Lee, the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. You got El Desperado representing Suzuki Gun. You got Flip Gordon representing Ring of Honor. You got Jonathan Gresham representing kind of Rev Pro / Ring of Honor, bit of both. You got Marty Scurll representing Ring of Honor. You got Rocky Romero representing Roppongi 3K / Chaos. You got Ryuzuki Taguchi. You got Shingo Takagi representing LIJ. You got Sho and Yo representing Roppongi 3K. Both those two are in / Chaos. You got Taiji Ishimori representing Bullet Club. You got Taka Michinoku and also Yoshinobu Kanemaru joining El Despi as members of Suzuki Gun in this tournament. You got the legendary Tiger Mask. You got Titan representing CMLL. You got Will Ospreay representing Chaos. And Yoshinobu Kanemaru, which I've already touched on. So those 18 names are incredible names. Let's just do a quick little review of such. Bandito. I think this is his first. This will be his first New Japan Super Juniors, Best of Super Juniors. He is a fantastic talent. As soon as I found out he got signed to Ring of Honor, I was like, please make sure he gets in Best of Super Juniors, and he is. So that's fantastic. Bushi, unfortunately, he is the preferable weak member of LIJ, if you want to say that. He's a good junior, and he has been IWGP Junior Champ before, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes with this. Dragon Lee, the current IWGP Junior Champion, who's had an incredible April, both in New Japan and CMLL, just collecting titles, being like a second coming of bloody Ultimo Dragon, which, there's a pun there within the Dragon name itself, but keen to see him doing stuff here in this tournament. El Desperado had a really good tournament last year. Had one of the matches of the tournament for me. I loved it. Flip Gordon. Flip Gordon is a superstar. He's got character. He's got that in-ring ability. He can fly with the best of them. He can ground with the best of them. So I'm interested to see where Flip goes with this, and how far he can go in this tournament. Gresham, probably you go Daniel Bryan, Zack Sabre Jr., Jonathan Gresham in terms of best grapplers in the last 10 to 12 years. Jonathan Gresham is everything that Zack Sabre Jr. and Daniel Bryan have been in the past. So his style is going to be very different in this tournament, but something that will complement a lot of great matches. You got Marty Scurll, similar to Gresham in that way that he's a bit more grounded than he is a high flyer or anything like that. But Marty Scurll is, he's done plenty of Best of Super Junior tournaments. He's one of the best characters, both in Ring of Honor and New Japan. With all his friends dead and gone, onto an all elite based company. He stands on his own. Well, not on his own. He's got Villain Enterprises, but anyway, I hope Marty does go well in this. This is potentially his last Best of Super Junior, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes there. Rocky Romero, Ring of Honor, New Japan, stalwart, been part of both companies for nearly 10 years plus, trained a lot of these guys. I think he'll take a lot of losses in this tournament, but he's so talented he could surprise us. Taguchi, a New Japan legend, junior legend. Yes, sometimes he comes across as all silly, fun and games, but we've seen in the last couple of months he can turn on the serious button when he needs to. So look for him to turn on the serious button in this tournament and pick up a few important victories. I can't see him winning it, but you never know. Shingo Takagi, this is my dark horse for the tournament. I stand by the belief that I don't believe he is a junior. He is way bigger than this field. Maybe Will Ospreay just a little bit. But Shingo Takagi is one of the best wrestlers in Japan's history. Like, he's fantastic. The work that he did in Dragon Gate is second to none. So it'd be interesting to see how Takagi goes in his first Best of Super Junior tournament. You got Sho. It'd be interesting. Sho and Yo did some really good things in the tournament last year. So I'm going to just group them here together. They were phenomenal last year. They didn't pick up more than, I think, 2 or 3 wins each. But they did put some really good matches on. So look for one of them to maybe break out again. Maybe get into like the final 2 or 3 in each group. Should be interesting. Taiji Ishimori. Since coming over from Noah/Impact, when he came into the tournament last year, Taiji Ishimori is just on another level. He is probably one of my top 4 picks to win this, to regain his IWGP Junior titles. I know he's got a shot against Dragon Lee coming up, but this will be an extra shot for him. But we'll see how that goes. Takamichi Nuku, probably in that Rocky Romero bracket as well. In that conversation, he's a solid legend. Been in his business for many years. Part of the WWF Junior Light Heavyweight division back in the late 90s. Part of the Attitude Era there. He's a legend. So look to him maybe picking up a win or 2, just being that wily vet. Don't think he will win much, but you never know. Tiger Mask, similar. He had a really good start to the tournament last year. I think he won his first 2 or 3 matches, and I was like, oh, here we go. Then he lost the rest. So we'll see how Tiger Mask goes. I don't know if this is his last Best of Super Juniors. What happens with Tiger Mask going forward, but it's always good to see him. Titan, CMLL representation other than Dragon Lee has been quite weak over the few years. In my opinion, Lucha Libres, especially the light or cruiserweight guys, light heavyweight or cruiserweight guys, are some of the best super juniors or juniors in the world. In the past, I know they've used like Aldo Jr., Soberano in this tournament. Titan, I think this is his first time in the tournament, but he is phenomenal. I can't wait to see him mix it up with some of these guys. Will Ospreay, of course, past winner of this tournament, one of the best juniors in New Japan recent times. Has had some classics with the guys like Ricochet, Marty Scurll, all these guys. So look for Will Ospreay to be one of the heavy favorites. I think he won't win this tournament. I think he'll fall short, but I think he'll move up to the G1. I think Will Ospreay might be one of the first guys to do both Best of Super Juniors and G1 in the same year in a long time. I had to do my research on who or if anyone has done that in one single year. But yeah, I feel Will Ospreay and maybe Shingo will do G1 as well this year. Yoshinobu Kanemaru, in that similar boat to like Despy and Rocky Romero and that. Unfortunately, I think he's too much of a vet and won't get a lot of wins. I think he's there for a few losses. He's a great junior tag guy with Despy. I think he'll just cop a lot of losses here. So look, yeah, some fantastic talent, some awesome confirmed entrants there. I can't wait for this to kick off on May 13. I'm not going to be able to, at the time, record a podcast through that month. I'll be in America at this stage. So I'll be watching this on my phone as I'm traveling. When I'm in the US, I'm sure these matches are going to be on at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. But I will 100% be tuning in. So I've said that there were 20 participants. I just talked about 18. There are 2 spots I want to talk about. So the 19th spot is X. 19th man is X, or 20th man. The 19th I want to talk about is X. I believe Mr. X, so he will be revealed in a tag match coming up with Taiji Ishimori, which is going to be interesting. I don't know. The obvious signs are El Fantasma, who we know is joining Bullet Club, coming over from Rev Pro, so you got like a Rev Pro representation into Bullet Club there. So he's in my mind all but confirmed for that Mr. X spot there. But the other person is potentially Hiromu Takahashi, who has been on the sidelines since last July when he suffered that horrible neck injury. We know he's ready to return, so he could be part of that, or he might challenge the winner of this. So, will be interesting to see who that 19th man is, or the X is. I do believe it will be Phantasmo, so that'll be interesting to see. Now, the 20th man that I want to talk about, let's get into this. So, like I said, on Tuesday when I went to record this, I was so much more excited, so much more hyped. I was marking out like a little schoolboy. Yeah. So this 20th person is none other than Robbie Eagles. Australia's Robbie Eagles. One of the best pro wrestlers that Australia has ever produced. Give or take a few other names that, rival that status. But Robbie Eagles he's one of those talents that is just so special to an industry, especially this Australian pro wrestling industry, that the pro wrestling scene that here at the B Plus we cover a lot, whether it's on Facebook, on the website with the results, everything. Robbie gives everything back to the Australian scene. So everything that he accomplishes, whether it's in New Japan but being part of the Bullet Club, whether he's over in America having a hell of a WrestleMania weekend, whether he goes on tours to the UK, or whether he's taken on the best talent here in Australia, everything that man does, I swear he puts it back into the Australian scene, and that it's a special thing because Australian pro wrestling has been overlooked for far too long. We know how good the Australian scene is, how many eyes are coming onto the scene in the last, say, 18 months, 2 years. Everyone is doing their part. Every state has a promotion who is doing amazing things. Every promotion has a set of trainers, a set of leaders. All those promotions, all those states, all those trainers, all those talents there doing things across from WWE all the way through to the UK, all the way back down here that are doing phenomenal things. But I think one of the guys at the forefront of that is Robbie Eagles. Robbie Eagles is a guy that I see work so hard. Just today, just seen on Instagram, on the Instagram story, it's Anzac Day, a public holiday here, special public holiday, and here's Robbie Eagles working hard in the gym. When he could be relaxing, could be taking it easy on a public holiday. There he is working hard. He's a phenomenal talent, and I wish him the best in this tournament. I can't wait to see what sort of matchups we'll get from him. Robbie versus Gresham rematch. I think they had a match in PWG about 2 months ago that blew the house down. Robbie Bandito, the famous PWG money match where they threw the money in the ring. They fall in the same bracket. Robbie Ishimori, they're tag partners, part of the Bullet Club. That would just be an awesome one-on-one to see. But the biggest one that I want to see is the rematch or rematches. Robbie Eagles versus Will Ospreay. This whole launching pad of Australian scene was really helped. I'm not going to say started because I don't believe there's one man or one match that really kicked this off. But one match that really pushed it into the atmosphere wasn't Robbie Eagles versus Will Ospreay at Quarter Arms 2017. here at PWA in Sydney, Australia. One of the best matches I have ever seen. Their rematch in a Quarter Arms 2018 was probably the second best match I've seen in PWA. So I hope their third 1-versus-1 is inside either a Korakuen Hall or any type of New Japan ring. New Japan audience deserves to see that one-on-one. They have a special chemistry, and I can't wait to see that.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today. Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, OUTBREAK NUTRITION. OUTBREAK NUTRITION are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at OUTBREAK NUTRITION. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OUTBREAKNutrition.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OUTBREAKNutrition.com, enter the code B+ at checkout.
So there's the Best of Super Juniors news and breakdown. Getting closer to the tournament, when we know exact who's going to be in, which 10 guys are going to be on either side, the matchups. So I think the way that they did it last year is every second night, Group A will go, then the second night Group B will go. And the Group A guys will be in tag team matches, usually with like a heavyweight or a young lion who will eat the pin as pre-show matches. So this is about 20 days straight, probably 1 or 2 days off in between, and every second night will be a hard-hitting tournament match. Every other second night will be a pre-show an undercard tag match to sort of get those combinations right with their next opponent, or to blow off some steam from the night before. So look forward to this big time. It's going to be an amazing show. A couple other little things that are going on in New Japan. So last weekend we had the New Japan Sengoku Lord in Japan show. It was a really solid, just New Japan show. Very standard show. Not a Road 2 show. It's it was kind of more of a special Road 2 in a way. I'm sorry, I haven't done my homework on this. I'm not too sure what the Sengoku Lord meaning is within that. I hope someone can tweet me later what the meaning is behind that. There were some great matches, some great moments through the night, some really fun stuff. But the match of the night was actually there was two major moments. Juice Robinson defended his IWGP US Heavyweight Championship against Bad Luck Fale. This is his third defense since winning the US title. And he picked up the win here using pole friction. It's good to get that challenger out of the way for Juice. I'm guessing Chase will probably get another opportunity, or maybe someone like a Mikey Nichols will be next in line for that shot. So it will be interesting to see where they go the Juice's title. But the main event of that night of Saturday night's Sengoku Lord Show was Kota Ibushi versus Zack Sabre Jr. Kota Ibushi defending his IWGP Intercontinental Championship for the first time since winning it at Madison Square Garden. This was a great match, just fell under 30 minutes. Kota winning with the Kamigoye. Phenomenal match. But an interesting note that I feel that I'm taking away from this is I think Zack Sabre Jr. doesn't know how to beat Kota Ibushi anymore. I think Kota Ibushi is one guy that Zack Sabre Jr. just really struggles with, and I think Kota Ibushi has Zack Sabre's number, and I think Zack Sabre needs to reinvent how he can beat Kota Ibushi. I don't know where their next match will come, if it's in, the next couple of months. But I think next time that Zack Sabre Jr. does get a title shot, or even just a simple one-on-one, maybe in the G1 later this year, how Zack can get across Kota, because he struggles against Kota, and it's very interesting. So that was a fantastic match. But I do suggest getting onto New Japan World and watching that show. It was recorded with English commentary, so it was a great show. Get on to that. Other sort of stories being told on the road tours in the last couple of weeks. A really funny, interesting story that kind of links back to the Kota stuff, Kota and Zack Sabre Jr. stuff. It sounds like Kota is moving on to NATO in the storyline. Kota just beat NATO for the IC title. A weird little thing is that NATO is saying that he doesn't want the title for the fact that he wants to wear the IC title. He wants to use it to stepping stone so he can become a double champion, get that heavyweight crown from Okada. Maybe NATO wins a G1 or something like that. But so it looks like we're going to get a Kota NATO feud again. We didn't really get a feud as such. It was more of a because Kota pinned NATO in the New Japan Cup. He got a shot at Madison Square Garden, and that was settled pretty quickly. So, I think we'll get a proper storyline between these two over the next maybe 6 weeks, leading into maybe a Dominion, a little bit more maybe. NATO gets his title shot at Dominion, so we'll see. But a really funny thing recently is LIJ been taking on Los Ingobernables, Dijabon, have been taking on Chaos. It's all 5 healthy members of LIJ, so it's Evil, Sonata, Shingo, Bushi, and NATO, taking on a Chaos team of Sho, Yo, Okada, Ishii, and Rocky Romero. And LIJ, for some reason, are 7-0. So this Okada, this Chaos team involving these 5 guys are unable to beat this LIJ unit in the last 2 weeks, which I find is incredible in itself. But so what they've done is now they're moving on to this NATO Ibushi storyline. Chaos is taking up Rocky Romero from this tag team, this 5-man team, and adding Kota Ibushi. So that starts, I think, Saturday night. This Saturday night coming on the road tours. So Kota Ibushi will be part of those 10-man tag matches. So let's see if LIJ can still beat a Chaos featuring Kota Ibushi team there. Kota Ibushi, Okada, and Ishii on the same team is kind of lethal. So it'd be very interesting to see how that goes. So some really cool things lately. I think getting a Jay White, the last 2 nights since I recorded the first record, was there's been a couple of road tours actually at Korakuen Hall. So on Wednesday night, which is the 24th, we had the Joshin Thunder Liga 30-year anniversary match between Liga. It was a 6-man match with Liga, Tiger Mask, and Taguchi taking on a team of Desperado, Kanemaru, and Minoru Suzuki. Suzuki actually won this match as Kanemaru got a small package hold on Tiger Mask for the victory. But the story here is Minoru Suzuki versus Liga. I believe so. This is going to be one of Liga's last big rivalries before he hangs it up on the 4th of January next year. It's an interesting story. See Suzuki coming down with the gloves, representing when they had their shoot match back in 2002, Pancreas, whatever you want to call it. I can't think of the name of it. Some real, they're telling some really good story here. Look forward to see how that goes. Also on this card last night, got a really good special tag match in the main event. It was Sonata and Shingo taking on the team of Showa and Okada. So LIJ is still winning all their matches. We also had Evil Nato and Bushi taking on Yo, Ibushi, and Ishii in a 3-on-3 match. So, this Chaos team, even with, they're broken down a little bit differently now. But yeah, they still can't get the win over Chaos there, so that's quite interesting. So coming up over the next couple of weeks in New Japan, you got Dontaku coming up soon. This Saturday night, so you got the tag title match, Toriano and Togi Makabe taking on Gorillas of Destiny for the IWGP tag titles. Expect Tama and Tanga to take this seriously because they actually do give a shit about these tag titles. I don't know if they give a shit too much about the Ring of Honor titles, but there is that shit going on with Enzo and Cass at the moment, but we won't touch on that this week. So you got that match. You got the Big 10-man Chaos versus LIJ match with Coda coming into that, so that'll be interesting to see. And still just a lot of build towards the Dontaku shows coming up in like 2 weeks. I think it's May 4th or 5th, I believe. Some really great matches on those cards, but we'll break that down closer to the time. So that's about it for current New Japan. One last piece of New Japan news that I want to quickly touch on. Coming up on, I think it's on June 26th, Riki Choshu, one of New Japan's biggest legends of the 80s, a real standout when New Japan and WWE/WWF had a relationship back in the 80s. Riki Choshu was forefront of that with guys like Tatsumi Fujinami. God, I can't speak properly. His retirement match, which, funnily enough, he actually had a retirement match back in late 90s. I want to say like 1999, but he came back, opened up his own promotion and all that, and got back in the ring again. But this is his official retirement, so it'll be a 6-man tag. It's going to be Riki Choshu teaming with Tomohiro Ishii, which is a trainee of Choshu's. And actually, Ishii has been talking about that on his shows recently. He's been doing a couple of things related to Choshu, so keep an eye on those storylines with Ishii. And they'll also be tagging with Shiro Koshinaka. I'm not really familiar with Koshinaka, but I feel from the look of it through his career, some of the research I've been doing, he's quite close to Choshu, so there's a special reason that. They're taking on a 6-man tag consisting of Tatsumi Fujinami, I'll get that right this time, one of Choshu's biggest rivals of the last 40 years. They headlined the first Tokyo Dome back in 1992. Fujinami is a Hall of Famer. Fujinami will be tagging alongside Muto, Kichi Muto, also known as Great Muta when he decides to do the Great Muta stuff. So Muto, one of the greatest Japanese talents of all time. And they're also joined by Togi Makabe, one of New Japan's current guys. Remember Great Bash Heel. Makabe is one of Choshu's students as well. So Ishii and Makabe are a student versus student match in that match, so that's going to be cool to see. I'm sure New Japan World, they haven't announced it yet, but I'm sure New Japan World will either record that and show it later, or they will they'll have it live. I imagine they'll do it live. It's a pretty big thing, but it's not an official New Japan show, so we'll see how that goes there. I'm not going to touch on things with CMLL and Rev Pro this week. I'll come back to that. CMLL, this weekend I'll be recording Loco por Lucha Libre episode cast number 3. So I'll dive into CMLL deeper in there. They've been doing their incredible pairs tournament over the last fortnight. So there've been some really fantastic matches in CMLL. If you ever want to get into CMLL, this is the time when it's tournament time. There's some really cool matchups. Some shocking ones, but some really good ones at the same time. So yeah, I'll break that down. What I do want to break down right now, to wrap up the show, is this weekend is the NWA Crockett Cup. Now, the Crockett Cup is an old Jim Crockett Promotions tag team tournament that they had back in the 80s. The first one was held in 1986, in April 1986. So literally, this time, 33 years ago, 33 years ago, the first Crockett Cup was held. Over the years, you had teams, you had guys like, you had the Bobby Fultons, the Barbarians, the Rock and Roll Express, all those guys. And I think the last winners were Lex Luger and Sting back in 89, I think the last one, or sorry, 88. So this it's cool to be back. What Billy Corgan is doing with this NWA stuff, bringing back things like the Crockett Cup, and some of the stuff he did with that Nick Aldis has been doing with that NWA 10 Pounds of Gold is just fantastic. I'm really happy to see NWA's name being rebuilt. It's a special name in the pro wrestling world. Like, WWE is obviously the biggest name that all these kids know, but NWA was that back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Like, NWA was, it was bigger than most. I don't know. It's hard to explain just how big NWA was at one point. And due to the territories just dissolving in the 80s and WWF / Vince coming in and cleaning house on all those rosters and tearing things up and destroying things. And yes, WWE has been a success for the last 35 years. I'm not going to doubt that. But yeah, it's good to see NWA back in the forefront of things. So this weekend, there's a really fantastic lineup. 3 titles being defended alongside the Crockett Cup tournament. So let's quickly talk about the Crockett Cup tournament. Now, there are 8 teams will be representing. Well, 7 I can talk about. 1 I can't because there's a wildcard spot. So the 8 teams representing in the tournament, and I'll break it as matches, is the Briscoe brothers representing Ring of Honor. So there will be Jay Briscoe and Mark Briscoe, and they'll be taking on the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, NWA legends. 2 of Jim Cornette's, favorite boys out there. This is going to be a real interesting match. Let's see how good Ricky and Robert still got it. This will be really interesting. I expect the Briscoes to go forward in that. Next matchup is Villain Enterprises, so Brody King and PCO. They'll be representing Ring of Honor. They'll be taking on Satoshi Kojima and Yuji Nagata representing New Japan. Kojima and Nagata, they've still got it in their latter years, but I do expect them to take a pinfall loss to Brody King and PCO. PCO is about the same age as both Kojima and Nagata, so can't really use age there as a reason to take a loss, but I expect Brody King and PCO to move on here. Then you got Flip Gordon and Bandito representing Ring of Honor, and they'll be taking on the CMLL duo of Guerrero Maya Jr. and Stuka Jr. I have a little bit of a problem with this, I'll be honest. Guerrero Maya Jr. and Stuka Jr. are fantastic CMLL talents. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but I just feel that they're there to eat a pin to Flip and Bandito, which is fine. Flip and Bandito feel like they're going to be a fun tag team for this tournament. I feel that they will go forward, which is kind of frustrating because that's 3 Ring of Honor tag teams, and the NWA, New Japan, and CMLL teams just feel like they're there just to take losses to those teams. But the tag teams that you could have sent from CMLL, you could have sent the New Gen Dynamiters, or you could send Los Guerreros or something. I don't know. Or Mystico and Dragon Lee. I know Dragon Lee is busy at the moment with New Japan stuff. Or could have put Mystico and Rush together or something. But anyway, it is what it is. I expect Flip and Bandito to take this match. And then the fourth and final match is the War Kings, Crimson and Jack Stain representing NWA. They'll be taking on the Wildcard Battle Royal winners. We don't know which tag teams are going to be part of the Wildcard Tag Team Battle Royal. I expect a lot of tag teams that have attempted to be in this tournament, guys like Vinny and TK O'Ryan from the Kingdom, maybe Lifeblood like Juice and David Finlay. Oh no, Juice is busy with New Japan this weekend, so he won't be there. But, maybe the bouncers like Brian Malone's, B-City Bruiser, other teams like, I don't know, I've seen Caleb Conley and Jay Bradley team up together at NWA New Year's Clash to take on the War Kings. So it'd be interesting to see how many teams get in that. I expect Crimson and Jack Stain to defeat whoever it is anyway. So I don't know who I have for winning this tournament. I'd say maybe the Briscoe brothers. They are they've been a team that's been around in Ring of Honor for about 12, since day dot. And, maybe they deserve to have the name Crockett Cup next to them. But maybe Crimson and Jack Stain are a dark horse there. So we'll see how that goes. 3 other huge matches. Allysin Kay versus Santana Garrett. A singles match for the vacant NWA Women's Championship match. This is going to be very interesting. Santana Garrett and Allysin Kay are both awesome talents. But unfortunately, this was supposed to be Allysin Kay versus Jazz. Jazz was supposed to have the NWA Women's title defense against Allysin Kay here. But unfortunately, due to health and personal issues, she's had to vacate the title. So I don't know how long she's out for, any more extent to it. I don't want to know. That's her private stuff. I imagine it'll be a fun match regardless. Allysin Kay versus Santana Garrett for the vacant NWA Women's title, so that'd be cool. Then you got Willie Mack taking on Colt Cabana as Willie Mack defends his NWA national title against Colt Cabana. This will be a really fun match as well. 2 similar sort of, fun sort of styles, but kind of bigger, burly men who know how to grapple, know how to have fun. So this will be a really interesting match. I expect Willie to retain here. And then the big one, you got Nick Aldis defending his NWA World Heavyweight Championship, the 10-pound of gold against his former/current friend in Marty Skrull, the villain Marty Skrull, who is taking a part of the Best Super Juniors tournament coming up, as I just talked about. So that'll be very interesting to see how this match plays out. I think Nick Aldis retains. They could throw a spanner in the works, and NWA could put the strap on Marty, but I expect Aldis to retain and keep his second reign going longer. So that's the Crockett Cup. That's this weekend. I think you can get that on Fight, so I recommend getting on top of that. Potentially on the Honor Club. I can't confirm that, as I'm not an Honor Club guy at the moment. But yeah, so it's going to be a fantastic show. Get onto that. Look, we'll be back next week. Hopefully both me and Greg will be here. We thank you for being such a patient audience. If you're listeners and you're looking for this to be out Wednesday, thank you very much for sticking by us. But look, that's all I got for today, so I'm going to put a fork in it as I am done. Look, if you want to discuss anything else, New Japan, King of Sports, CMLL, you can find me on Twitter at @B+_Big Boy. You can find any of us, or you can reach out to us as a collective, as we are the B+ Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram. They're the B+ Wrestle on Twitter. Wrestling on fit. Like, share, subscribe, give us a 5-star review if you like what we do. And thank